slightly over depending on how many tangents I go on. But could you all let me know, can you see my screen all right? Can you see the title slide of Social Selling Workshop, how to use LinkedIn and live webinars to grow your business? Just give me a yes if you can. Cool. Everyone can. Amazing stuff. So for those of you that have followed me for a little while, and for those of you that are brand new, these workshops are very, very, I guess, practical. I want you to be interactive. I want you to ask questions. I want you to let me know if you're ever uncertain on something. For me, I don't want you to feel like you've wasted your time today. So again, if you've got any questions at all, then please do let me know. Webinars are something that I've utilized for around about 4 and a bit years. And over those 4 and a bit years, I've ran my own, but also consulted on lots of other people's. And everything that I'm going to be sharing with you today has been taken from those bits of work that I've done and all of the webinars that I've run in the past as well. The LinkedIn part to all of this, I will explain. It is the main traffic source that we use to fill these workshops. And I'm going to be talking to you about how we do that from a content point of view, from a messaging point of view, and also from a LinkedIn events point of view. So it's going to be the combination of these two that I'm going to be taking you through today. And I'm very, very excited to be able to do it. Now, as I mentioned, social media is something that I've been a part of properly when it comes to having a business that's a part of it for around about 5 years, just coming up to. And what I've noticed, bearing in mind of how many people we speak to on a weekly basis, I reckon even just this month, we've spoken to over probably 50 different businesses around their social media campaigns. What I'm noticing are some patterns. And with my workshops, these patterns I repeat pretty much every time because they are the fundamental reasons why people fail. And what I want you to do, as I bring each of these points up, there's 5 of them in total. What I want you to have a think about is which one most resonates with you. So typically I find that there's one that stands out more than the other. And depending on where your business is, will kind of factor in the answer that you come to. So the first one, again, this is taken from the conversations that I have, is that people are using social media. And if you could for me, if you're currently using a platform like LinkedIn right now, could you give me just a thumbs up in the chat box for me? Just let me know if you're currently actively using a platform like LinkedIn to be able to generate some business for yourself. Now, I know there'll be a lot of you on there because our LinkedIn event has gone mental recently. My engagement has also gone very, very high recently as well. But what I'm finding is that lots and lots of people are using these platforms, but failing to get their target market's attention. So they might get some engagement. You may get a few likes. You might get a few comments. You may reach a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 people. But actually, when it comes to getting the right people's attention, people are finding more and more often that they're getting ignored. And so they're building a network up with people that then don't engage with them. And it gets really, really difficult from there. That is something that I'm seeing time and time again. So that's number one. Number 2 is just quite simply that you don't have a big enough audience. So you're trying, you're out there, you're pressing the connect button, you may be posting content, you may be out there commenting on people's content as well, but you're just finding that not enough people know what it is that you do. And therefore, if you could just get their attention, get the new followers, get the new connections, and just get them to concentrate and hear you out, you feel like you'd have quite a high likelihood of success of converting them. That's number 2, just in terms of big enough audience size. Now, number 3 is the one that we're going to focus quite a lot of time on today, because it's the thing that I think is the most powerful that I can give you. Number 3 is all about building a predictable and sustainable process for conversion. What I'm hearing so frequently right now is people are active on these platforms, but they don't have a way of being able to move somebody that they don't know, somebody that they don't have a relationship with, a stranger, so to speak, through to the point where they become a raving customer. There's no process, there's no plan. And that is something that we have honed in on over the last 4 and a bit years. And without sounding too arrogant, absolutely nailed. Purely because, and I'll be sharing the stats with you today, depending on how many people show up to workshops like this, and currently we have around about 130 of you that are on, that should grow throughout this as we go through. But I know from that number, how many people from there will then end up potentially working with us, right? The numbers back up everything that I do. So when I go through them with you, I want you to take note of them so you can aim for something similar as well. But your predictable and sustainable process, it is so, so important if you're looking to generate results from social right now. Number 4 is where the webinar comes in, really. And it's a fact that, again, you may have the audience, you may have a LinkedIn network, a YouTube subscription base, you may have an Instagram following. I don't care what platform you use. The problem is that you don't introduce your offer to your target market enough. And so what happens is people just quite simply don't know what it is that they can buy from you. And so I always have this thing in business: the more people that know what I do, the more opportunities going to come my way. And so again, what a webinar gives you the ability to do is just introduce your offer month in, month out, without fail, to an audience that are interested. And then with that comes in the 5th real key problem that most people are finding. And it's the fact that their social media strategies, their social media plans are primarily focused on the hope that someone's eventually going to reach out to them. And that is something that when I first started using social, and again, I'm going to be sharing this backstory with you and how it all works and how I've figured this all out over a period of time. But with it, I was posting and hoping, sending messages and hoping. And with that, just kind of comes a sheer amount of frustration. Whereas now, with the way that I'm going to be sharing this today with you, is again a process that you can follow. And this is the biggest difference. And so with that in mind, would you just do me a massive, massive favor, just so I know where to spend the most amount of time today? If you were going to pick one out of number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, just in the chat box for me, which one most resonates with you right now with where your business is at? So John's already come straight away with a 1. Now, again, there's normally a big variety here. And again, there's no wrong answer. This is stuff that I hear all the time. So again, we have a very, very big variety. Some of you are sending it to me directly. Some of you are sending it to everyone, which is totally fine. But again, we've got a mixture of 1, 3s, and 5s, pretty much of what I'm seeing, which again is perfect, because in this workshop today, I've split it into 3 parts, and I'm taking it through. Part 1 is going to be around the process. Part 2 is going to be around then how do you position yourself to attract people to come to these sorts of things. And then part 3 then is how do you monetize it? How do you get it working? There is no part that's more important than the other. They are all equally as important, and they all need your attention as we go through. So with that in mind, I guess the biggest thing that I need to do is actually kind of give you a little bit of background on me. Now, I don't spend very long talking about me and our business on this workshop whatsoever, purely because I guess you don't really care too much. You're just here for the information. But just so you know that I guess I'm credible and I have a bit of a reputation in this space. Like in terms of who I am, I co-founded Pipeline 44 and the Social Selling Suite with my 2 business partners, Nicholas Jones and Sam Raffling. Now, you may have seen or heard of them on LinkedIn. If you follow us, give us a yes in the chat if you've heard of Sam or Nick. And over the past, again, 4.5 years of doing this, personally, I've run over 240 webinars, again, using a combination of different social media platforms that are out there. I've also consulted on another 370 of them. That is being counted by our system every single day. And you're going to be hearing and seeing a lot of the journeys that people have gone on with us throughout today's session. And if I'm going to talk about what we do as a business, like our strategy, kind of the proof is in the results, really. We don't share anything that we can't back up with evidence. But the biggest reason why we're here, why this business was started, was purely because we were that frustrated about all of the bad advice that we see on the internet. There are that many people that are preaching about social media like they know absolutely everything, but actually in reality, they've got no substance or context that they can add that makes their advice worthwhile. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is absolutely, completely and utterly evidenced. You will see the numbers behind it. You will see the feedback. You will see how each of these specific parts connects to each other. And we're all about teaching what we've proven. Okay, now we've been trusted by some of the biggest businesses in the world out there. And that is pretty much all you're going to hear about me and this business, because everything that I share, I document online as well. So that QR code, if you are to open up your camera and hover over that QR code, that will take you to my LinkedIn profile. If you come and follow, come and connect with me, you will see everything that we do day to day to be able to generate business from social. We don't hide anything. We share everything, numbers, facts, figures. It's all there for you to then be able to take and implement yourself as well as we move through. Okay, so the QR code is there. I'm assuming lots of us are connected anyway. Now, what I'd love to know before we kind of get started into the real meat of this is whether you've actually ever considered running a webinar to grow your business before. Have you ever ran one in the past? Is it something that you've never even thought of? Just give me a yes or a no. Have you ever considered running a webinar? Some of you will be experienced, I'm sure. Some of you will be brand new. Some of you would kind of be a bit petrified to run one, like I was when I first started doing this. And I'm just curious to kind of see, because again, this presentation is for people that haven't, and also people that have, but want to get it better. So there's lots of you that have run them. There's a few of you that have considered it. Some of you have got your first one coming as well, which is amazing. And there's some of you that haven't even considered running one before. All answers are totally fine. It just gives me the context to this as we move through. Now, if I'm going to explain the reasons why we love them, there's the few fundamental ones, which I really want to focus in on. It's absolutely critical that you know the context behind all of this. Now, when it comes to webinars, the biggest word that we can, I guess, use to persuade you that they're a good idea is the fact that it gives you the ability to take control of your sales pipeline. It's something that you can then proactively generate sales opportunities from. What we're noticing is that people have lots of low-hanging fruit in their networks and in their followings, right? The issue is that you don't just provide or introduce your services, your products enough to be able to actually get the calls booked in. And so with it, when you start to really get control, get this process in place, you start to effectively nurture people from stranger to customer in a time frame that is different for everyone. With a webinar, you not only build your own credibility, right? So with this, you get to hear me speak. You get to hear the tone of voice, the passion, the energy, the enthusiasm. You also get to test my knowledge. Because again, when you get someone live delivering in front of you, there's nothing worse when someone that doesn't know what they're talking about. This is evidence. When I go into the detail of what I'm going to be sharing with you today, there will be no shadow of a doubt of how many of these that I've ran and how many we've consulted on as a team. Like the facts are there, the numbers are there for you to look at. And what I found with webinars, especially with then the way that you can utilize them to promote, is that there are platforms out there like LinkedIn as an example that give you the opportunity to promote directly on them for free. Now, we track everything behind the scenes of our promotion, and it's something that we encourage every other person to do as well. Curious to know, though, when it comes to how you got here today, typically we find that the majority come from email, so from our email list building work. Some of you come from LinkedIn directly. Some of you come from the LinkedIn event. What I'm curious to know is, where did you come from today? How did you register for this? Did you get an email? Did you get a LinkedIn event invitation? And I just want to kind of see the split, because I always think that the most powerful thing that we've ever built is email, right? Taking control, again, building that ecosystem. I'm going to be talking to you about that in quite a lot of detail today. But you can see here the sheer differentiation of how people have found us. LinkedIn events are coming up. Again, if you're not running them and you've considered webinars, or you're running webinars right now, get your LinkedIn event set up, because as you can see, it's new traffic. Now, what I love about them when we look at the numbers behind all of our activity is that just from those LinkedIn events, over the past few years of doing it, we've generated over 11,500 email addresses for free. Yes, we've got to put time in to invite people, and it's not the most user-friendly in the world, right, to do it. However, it is simple. Anyone can click the buttons. Now, we run paid advertising campaigns behind what we do as well. We haven't run a paid advertising campaign for this webinar, but we have done in the past. You can see on the right-hand side there, the numbers that sample to our event. Now, that's not registrations that are 1,020. That's just the amount of people that have declared interest. Typically, we see a 30 to 40% conversion from those 1,000 attendees. But if I was going to run Facebook ads to get those 11,500 leads, now don't get me wrong, we want to be running profitable ad campaigns, right? But that's going to cost us 6 figures of our money to be able to get the registrations that I've got for free using LinkedIn events. it's just an absolute no-brainer to use. And even on today's event, we've taken, I think, 3 weeks to promote this on LinkedIn. And I think it got to around 820, the number, that screenshot I took yesterday as I was updating these slides. But with it, that's free traffic that I've already got in my network. You can send 1,000 LinkedIn invitations a week. And so when you're looking at getting your services in front of people, when it comes to introducing your products and your offers, you need to be utilizing traffic sources like this to be able to start effectively nurturing people to the point where they're ready to buy from you. And you can just see some basic ad data there. This was something that I ran around about 6 or 7 months ago. It's costing us around about £9 a lead. That's a registration, just so you know. And it wasn't huge volumes. We only spent 300 quid because it wasn't the most profitable and high quality of lead either. And so again, we just cut it off and focused back in on the organic temporarily. But it's just evidencing, again, when you start to put in a conversion piece of content that allows you to showcase the best version of you, that's where the sweet spot comes. So that's why I love them. It's also why I love LinkedIn events. It's utilizing the combination that we've just seen so much success from. And when we look at kind of the breakdown of how our marketing process works, and I encourage you to take a screenshot of this, by the way, what most people are doing, if you look at that diagram there, is focusing in on the left-hand side. So you're focusing in on the connection part. So you may have your LinkedIn profile, right? You may have a LinkedIn network. And if for any of you that it is blurry, I appreciate it could be a small screenshot. You've got a LinkedIn profile on the left-hand side here. You've got LinkedIn network building. So you're building your connections up. You've then got LinkedIn messaging. So you're sending messages. And then you have your content. So for any of you that are currently utilizing LinkedIn right now, but not moving people to your email list, and I'm just curious, how many of you out there have got an email list currently that you're building every day? Just let me know. So again, I can see the split. But it is one of the most important parts of all of this. And again, I'm going to be sharing it why and how you can do it for free as you start to build this out. But you can see the sales that we generate on the right-hand side there. That's the third step. LinkedIn is just about building an audience, nurturing an audience, making more people aware of what we do. The sales part of it comes from a webinar like this. Like, you remove these and we move the ability to control our pipeline. Now, you don't just have to run webinars. We teach lots of other ways of being able to convert business. However, a webinar is such a powerful way when you practice, when you get it right, when you start to communicate your message properly, to start driving the best customers through to the point where they want to book a call with you. In terms of a recording, yes, I will definitely be able to get something out to you. It'll be in around about 24 to 48 hours time. Now, if you've got any questions, again, for those of you that have joined us late, please utilize the Q&A box, purely because the chat box, as you can see, is quite busy. But now we move into the first part of the content here, which is all around process. So this is around about connecting your social media platforms and turning them into consistent opportunities. So my job today, I'm going to be really honest, is to not make you like me. I don't really care whether you like me or not. My job is just to simply tell you the truth and share the facts of what I've found. And there'll be some stuff today which you won't agree with, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm just sharing with you what we've found over the years that we've been doing it, like I do in all of the events that I go and speak at as well. Most people, when it comes to their social media activity, struggle to generate sales purely because, like I mentioned, that fifth problem that most people have on that mistake slide is that they rely on hope. They lack control. They're not driving traffic, they're waiting for it. They post and hope. They'll put content out there because they've been told that content is the thing they need to be doing, and they're waiting for inbound leads to come to them. Again, we get inbound leads all the time. We'll be sharing them with you. But that, again, is a hope strategy. Like, if they come, it's great. If they don't, I cannot rely on that as a predictable lead generation process. People also send messages in hope. We have all received, I guarantee, a rubbish, spammy sales message on LinkedIn. Some of us will also have received a message from someone saying, hey, I'd just love to find out a little bit more about what you do. Some of us will also have received a message that says, oh, can I just pick your brain for 5 minutes? We've all received them. Now, what I always think about whenever I'm sending messages is that what would I respond to if I got a message into my inbox? That message, again, I'll be sharing with you today, but we cannot just send these things and hope for the best. We've got to start taking control of it. I guarantee, and again, I'd love to know this actually. And most people have a good product and service. What I'd love to know is, what is your service? What is your product? What is it that you do? Just share it in the chat box for me, just so I can kind of see other types of people that we've got on here today. But what I've found, again, is that not enough people know about it, right? And whether you're a financial advisor, whether you're in copywriting, recruitment, Jenny, good to see you, life coaching, consulting, it doesn't matter what it is that you do, you've got to start telling more and more people about it. And we're always told, and I'm going to tell you this, I think at the end of this presentation, one of the top tips that I give you is the moment you try to sell is the moment you repel everyone. It's a quote from my business partner, Sam. And so it's not about going out there and selling on social. It's about being clever. It's about working smarter. And I hate that terminology of just work smart, not hard, right? We need to be doing both. However, there are ways to start to build out these processes so it's going to drive consistent opportunity through to you. I have zero doubt that you're putting efforts in, that you're posting online, sending messages, you're active on social. What I notice all the time is that you're just putting your effort into the wrong places. And the reason being is purely because social's changed. This is me on the right-hand side. This is my Instagram profile where I used to be very, very visible every single day. And back then, right, I posted. It wasn't very competitive. There wasn't as much content out there. And it was almost too easy. I had leads coming from every direction. I had them coming from the events that I was speaking at. I had them coming into my Instagram inbox on my YouTube channel, which was tiny. People were leaving comments saying they were interested. There just wasn't that much competition in what we did. And whether that was in our property business or whether that was in my Instagram agency or in the social media consulting that we do now, we had different opportunities coming in purely because there weren't as many people that were active. I used to run workshops and get 30 to 40 people on these webinars, right? This has been something that we've been promoting for a few weeks, and we've got loads of people. We've got, I think, over 330 of you registered for this organically. Like, that is 10 times what we used to get. Like, that showcases how much interest there is in this now. And the issue is that because of a few algorithm changes, and I'm sure you've seen it, have you noticed a change over the last 12 months of how many impressions that you're getting online? I've seen it. I've seen a dramatic decrease. But it's got harder. Content now, you can't just share all the other stuff, the previous information, high value stuff that you used to share. You can't do it. It doesn't get seen by the right people. You've got to understand how to play the game, because otherwise you experience what I experienced, feast and famine all the time. Like, I went from being flooded with business to suddenly having to fight for it. And so when it comes to finding new opportunities now, you've got to start implementing processes like this if you want it to be predictable. When you listen to other social media people, and I listen to a lot of it, but I consume so much content out there, trying to find edges, trying to find angles, trying and shortcut, trying to make things quicker, faster. And what I notice is that people are just regurgitating the same advice. Post more, stay consistent. You've probably already heard all of this before. Like, my issue is, and I hate the word consistency, because you should only be remaining consistent if what you're doing is working. If you're consistently doing like rubbish content, sending crappy messages, it's just going to consistently be bad. And so with it, again, what I want to share with you is the stuff that's going to work, because you can't just show up and expect stuff to happen. It doesn't work like that. Now, I'm just going to move that out of the way, because this process is the thing which makes the difference for me. It's the thing that allows you to take control. You're going to hear me say that word over and over and over again. And this is the numbers for you, okay? So when you start to promote your webinars, your workshops, your audits, your campaigns, you will start to see the facts and the figures behind it. And I think the best way to be able to explain this to you is to show you. Now, some of you may, if you're in the property space, you may know Jamie, but a lot of you won't. But Jamie runs a property investment and education company. We've worked together he was one of my first ever clients 4.5, 5 years ago now. And when we started to work together, He had 7,500 followers on LinkedIn. He wasn't really using it though. And he had 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? Just started out using YouTube. He's now got, I think, over 100,000. He's grown rapidly. But at the time that we started working together, that was where he was. He'd worked with other marketing people before, but simply didn't have this conversion process I'm about to share. And then over a 6-week period, which is how long it takes you to get your first campaign completed, if you work at the average timescales that we do, he built his first conversion campaign with us. Now, back then, it was a lot less pretty than it is now, but I don't know if this is going to be a bit blurry as well, but can you see the image on the right-hand side okay? I know some of you on phones, you might struggle, but you can see here as we're going through, if I read it out to you, we had on the left-hand side, we had YouTube organic, we then had Instagram organic, we then had YouTube advertising and Facebook advertising. The advertising came in after we started converting organically. We then created an Elite Property Trading Academy sales webinar that went into an application call booking. From that, we then had the upsells. So we then had his training academy, then into a 5, 12, and so high ticket sales after that. So we had traffic at the front end and then a conversion process throughout as we went right. And again, you're going to be seeing more clearer images of this as we go through. But what I always advise everybody to do, okay, is pick 2 platforms, okay, 2 platforms to focus on and make sure that one of them pushes video content. Okay, so YouTube is the one that I love, but there is also short form video platforms out there now which are doing great things like TikTok, Instagram, and on LinkedIn, video is starting to take off again. It went through a bit of a stagnant phase where we wouldn't recommend it. It is now back. What we then have to do is make sure that your email lists are set up. So you can use different platforms. We have our own platform that all of our members are beginning to use now. We've incorporated it into our membership, so they get it for free. But there's loads of different platforms out there that you can start using for free. MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, all give you opportunities. MailerLite is another one. And there are lots of different softwares that you can use. But you've got to have one purely because you need to move people off of social media to a place where you've earned the right to promote to them. What you then do is build out your lead magnets and your conversion pieces of content like a webinar like this. You will have noticed to be able to join this webinar today, you have to put your email address in. That's purely because some of you, right, this is your first ever workshop. If you could, in the chat box for me, if this is your first ever workshop, could you put the number 1? If you've been to multiple, can you put the number 2? Just let me know. I'd be curious to see. I know that the first time out that you come to watch me, you're kind of testing me out. You're feeling me out to see whether, 1, you kind of like what I'm saying, 2, whether you can trust me or not. The people that are back for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th time, that's purely because I'm hoping you found value from the first one. And so again, with it, what you need to realize is this is not just a run one workshop and then the leads disappear into the abyss. This is about staying credible, staying visible. Because guess what? The moment someone first come across you, whenever someone first attends a webinar, they're typically not ready to buy from you. So you've got to stay top of mind because the moment they do realize they need you, that's the point at which when you introduce your offer, they then come towards you again. So you've got to start putting out those lead magnets, those things that you are going to allow to get email addresses as a result from. So give free content, get email addresses, give free content, get email addresses. The bigger your email list gets, the bigger your business will get. And then once you match the above, so everything that I've mentioned there, your sales process, your lead magnets, your webinars, when you get them all in place, it doesn't take long, a couple of weeks work. You then match that with the right message and the right offer. You'll start to see the power of this machine working. And again, with the numbers of this, I mentioned to you before, I've already asked you, right? Where did you come from today? We see for all the webinars that we've run, an average of 80% of people come from our email list. That's the importance. If you don't have an email list right now, you are leaving 80% of your future opportunity on the table. That's the importance of it. 20% then comes from new traffic. So every time that I run one of these, you will see from the different numbers, there is a very, very big mixture between people that are completely new and people that have come more than once. It's always a balance. We find that 20% of people that show up to our events are people that are new. And that comes from our social media efforts at the front end, the LinkedIn events, the YouTube, the podcast, all of the different platforms that we use. But again, like I say, to begin with, you're focusing on two, you get good at the two, and then you can add them in as you begin to automate. When I presented the numbers to Jamie with the way that this works, this is why we signed the business and I was given the opportunity to be able to do it with a business like his. It was a no-brainer, right? And this process, when you is an absolute no-brainer to do. 50% of the people that register on a platform like Zoom, so you all registered on Zoom today, I think we had around about 300 people. There's currently 135 of you live. So it's around about a 40 to 50% show up rate. That is average, right? That's the normal amount that you should be expecting. From there, you should expect a minimum of 10% of them to book a call in with you. And then with that, because of the way that we introduce the calls, and I'm going to share with you how you can book a call with me in a second, but again, 80% of those should typically become customers. So again, it's then not reliant on the hope of someone buying, but again, the numbers, and as long as you're doing the right things, you've got the right variables in place, the numbers allow you to predict how much business you should be generating. So with this, when I did this, that we had 250 register. We expected around 150, so I'm a little bit low on the show up rate that I guessed, and that should result in 15 calls and 12 sales. That's kind of how this process works. Now, again, with it, we decided when we presented with Jamie that the webinar was the route that we wanted to go into. And it is still the same structure, the same process that we use today. It's just improved upon. So let me make this clear. Without running a webinar once every month for Jamie's case, or once every couple of months in terms of the minimum I would recommend running them, Jamie would have built an audience without a shadow of a doubt. His LinkedIn connections would have grown. His Instagram followings would have grown. His YouTube subscription bases would have grown. And he'd maybe have had a few people that have just messaged and asked to work with him. But he would never have generated the volume of sales like you can see on the right-hand side there. The 27th of April to the 13th of May was the first one that we really ran. You can see on the right-hand side there, the £0 to 0 pence. This was a brand new Stripe account. 44 payments in, 46,000 in sales. The webinar is the vehicle that moved strangers, people on his email list, people in his social media platforms to booking a call in. When you then introduce your services at the end, that's where you turn your opportunities into sales, not in your content on social, but in the webinar. I'm going to be talking to you very shortly about the importance of your message, and that goes in your content and your webinar very shortly. But it is one of the most important parts of this process, getting the message right. The results from this webinar, as you can see, spoke for themselves. And as a result, we worked through that first webinar. I watched it. I gave him feedback. We improved upon it. He then committed to only running this process. We worked with Jamie for around about 3 and a bit years. And in his first 12 months, he ran 13 webinars with us. This is the commitment that we need, right? You need to focus in on the process, get it converting organically. And then when it does, you can then introduce your paid advertising. The organic stuff, we were getting between 100 and 150 registrations. When we introduced the paid stuff, it ramped up to 500 to 750. He was running profitable campaigns, right? Profitable ad campaigns, profitable organic campaigns. This is, again, the stuff that you learn as you go through this process. In year one, he broke that £1 million threshold. And this process, we have now run with over 450 clients, and we take each one through the same stages: audience, message, offer, journey, and delivery. That's the content that I'm going to be sharing with you as we push through now. So how to get the right audience, then put the message together, introduce the offer, take them on the journey to the point where you get to deliver. He then went on, just to see here the results. He went from $1 million to $10 million. It's literally ridiculous, right, in terms of it. But again, that's just a unique result for Jamie. We've got loads more, which again, I'm going to share with you as we go through this. The process, though, is tried and tested. And you can see here from all the different people that have worked with us, you run the webinar, you generate the sales, purely because even the first one that you run, you most likely have people in your network that are ready to buy from you. You most likely already have it. Again, you just need to put the offer in front of them in a way that actually showcases that you want to help. And so with that, as we move through, at the end of today's session, which will be in around about 25 minutes time, I'm going to be offering you the chance to speak to me. And this is where we're going to talk through those phases for you. So audience, message, journey, delivery, take you through them all. I'm also going to ask you to share with me your current marketing process and then suggest some changes to make. They're not with any random person, they're with me personally. And so there is a cap on them. You will see there's the dates that are available. I can't do any more purely because of time at the moment, purely because we've got customers that we're working with on this at this current point. But this is where you're going to get my one-to-one advice. And so if you want to book one of those calls in, I will need you to answer some questions for me. And with that, that will give me the information that I need to be able to do the reviews properly and give you the right advice. But that QR code there should take you through to be able to book into my diary. That QR code is also going to be in the top right-hand corner of the presentation slides as we go. So if you don't get it, it's going to be there for you. So some top tips for process. I'm not going to read them out for you because they're there on the screen. The time, Sarah, if you need a time in June, just drop me a note through and I'll try and figure something out for you. It's for the next 3 days only, purely because that's all I've got. Just again, we're very, very busy at the moment. But in terms of process, the biggest point is the one at the bottom for you. People are not on LinkedIn to buy products. They're not on LinkedIn to buy services. We know people are on social media. You're on social media for your own selfish reasons, right? To generate business for yourself, or most likely the reason I'm on it, because I get bored, right? You may have actually picked up your phone 3 or 4 times whilst listening to me today already. It happens. And so with that, you've got to understand the content that you need to be putting out there to be able to get the attention. Now, just quickly, before I move on to positioning, does part 1 all make sense? All of the questions I am going to answer at the end for you. So please stay to the end and I'll answer everything as you come through. But does everything make sense? Perfect stuff. Okay, good. Happy days. I mean, I just needed a drink, really. It's just a bit of a thing to buy time. Okay, cool. Excellent stuff. So we move into part 2, which is around positioning. So with your positioning, there are 2 things to look at: your audience and your message. Building the right audience on LinkedIn is something that I think lots of people get wrong. Most people, and again, if you can give me a thumbs up, raise your hand, say yes, whatever. Like, are you building your LinkedIn network right now? Yes or no? Just let me know. You get 100 invites a week that you can send. Just let me know. You all know, right? The buttons to press to be able to go out there and build your following, to build your network, to build your connections. But the people they're connecting with, I find, and again, you may be different. You may have heard one of my workshops before, right? They're either not active, so you're not checking the activity levels on their profiles, or they're just simply not interested because they're not on social media to hear about what you do. They're on it for their own selfish reasons or because they're bored, right? We know that. What I'm noticing more and more is people are lacking an audience growth strategy that works properly. And that growth strategy is one that needs to grow engagement, but also generates you qualified leads. That I cannot emphasize this enough. There is so much more to building a loyal audience on platforms like LinkedIn than there is just simply pressing the connect button. Pressing the connect button is advice that we give. Don't get me wrong. But doing that alone will not fill your pipeline up. When you understand how to build both is where you'll start to see the difference. So to give you like a little top tip for you, to give you a top tip, focus in half of your connection requests on people that are already engaging on content that's similar to yours. So go and find someone that's got lots of people commenting who posts something similar to you, and go and connect with the people in their comment section. Purely because if you then start to create content that is as good or better than the person they're already engaging with, you should be able to proactively steal the engagement. That extra engagement gives you more impressions. It gives you a higher probability of landing in the newsfeed of someone that is actually ready to buy from you right now. Now, that is one tip that I can give you out of probably 10 or 15 I'm going to give you throughout today, but it is really, really important. Something that not enough people think about. You need to be connecting with people that are active and interested. Take the extra 10 seconds to have a look at someone's profile. If they've not been engaging with something or posting something in the last 2 weeks, move on. They're not on the platform enough to be able to get their attention. This was the change that I made. My connection level, follower number, has grown slower than it has done in the past because I've been more deliberate with the way that I build my connection and my following. My content is very focused on playing the LinkedIn game properly. 12,000 is what I had around about 18 months ago. I'm now up to 21,100. But with it, the revenue numbers have consistently grown month in, month out as a result of it. And this is what I'm going to be really diving deep into as we move through to this. It is the thing that is so, so crucial. This is not about building connections. It is about building a loyal audience. And that takes a bit more thought. When you move into your message creation, right, it needs to be crafted. And we utilize the term a mindset shift. We have to take people on a journey. Not everyone's going to be ready to buy from you right at the beginning. You have to earn their trust. You have to showcase why you then have to demonstrate how you make an impact. I again find that most people are creating content on this platform, but people don't know how to get their ideal clients engaging. The most detailed part of what we do is actually working out how to frame your message so a stranger becomes curious. So you will notice on my profile, this is just my way of doing it, right? On my profile, I have on there straight to the point advice, calling out all the nonsense, sharing my journey to building a bigger business, right? I'm publicly showcasing what I'm up to. I know that is something that is different to what lots of other people that have businesses like us are doing. That is how I'm generating curiosity. I'm talking about all the taboo subjects that everyone else is afraid to talk about. And with that, you start to stand out from the crowd. Now, don't get me wrong. By standing out from the crowd, you're going to attract a little bit of negativity, but you're going to have to embrace it. I always used to say to myself, and I still say it now, because I hate getting grief online. I hate getting negativity, people calling me out, saying bad things. It happens, right? It's business. But I know that the moment I became successful was the moment I started to get my first little bit of hate online. People started to get a little bit jealous, a little bit angry. It's going to happen. But you've got to move on from it because there are more people that are finding value from what it is that you're doing than people hating on you. I spend hours every single week talking to people on Zoom. And my biggest frustration, and this is the thing that I'm really trying to help people with at the moment, is that I find out more about them as a person, as an individual, about how passionate they are about what they do in 2 minutes of talking to them over spending half an hour scrolling their social media news feeds. I can't find them doing a video. I can't find them talking and showcasing to me why they do what they do. I can't see it anywhere. And again, these are the big things out there. You can't just write content and post a photo anymore. If you want to start attracting the attention from strangers, you've got to start putting yourself out there in different ways. And I was petrified of doing this at the beginning, but I forced myself to get better. Every single day I recorded a video, even if I didn't want to share it, even if I didn't go on to sharing it. I recorded it because that's how I practice the skill. And that's what we do in our social selling suite and academy all the time. We're encouraging people to start talking more, to start sharing their message more in video and podcasting format. Because what we don't want is to do what the majority of people are doing. And that's showcasing the most boring versions of ourselves online, the most boring versions of our businesses online. And so if you want to make that big change, it's about showcasing and demonstrating the best version of you. And when you do that, with Nick Holt as an example here, who runs, this was last year, he runs a SQL consulting business. We went from showcasing the, I guess, most average version. So someone that was just showing up, ticking the boxes, like every normal, everyday social media user, to suddenly putting him out there as someone that is a thought leader, someone that's positioned as someone that's worth listening to. When you start doing that in the right way, that's where the opportunity comes. And so with it, that's what we need to dive deep into and start thinking about the answer to this question. And I'm curious to know, in the chat box for me, do you know the answer to that question of why should your ideal client avatar follow you? Do you know why? For me, my answer is because I share straight to the point, blunt marketing and sales advice that's backed up by evidence. If you want that, come and follow me. What I want to know is, do you know why people should follow you? Because if you don't, it's something to think about. It's something to work on and then start to practically implement onto your social media accounts. The questions that I look to answer. Number one is, what is it that I did that was going to enable me to stand out? Something that you need to ask yourself. So many people, I again find, blend in. And so it's a minority that do it well. And if you're going to succeed, again, it's about putting your head just that little bit higher so people can see you. Also, go take a moment to look on YouTube. Go take a moment to look on LinkedIn. Like, where are the gaps in your industry? What is it that people aren't talking about? I noticed around about a year ago, people were in the LinkedIn space who were afraid to talk about engagement pods, afraid to say that I've been in them. Like, I went out there and I've said, I've been in them. I've tested them. They didn't work for us very well, but they do work for other people. There are people out there that hate to say that, but I'm sitting here, I'm like, I can't sit here as someone that's positioned as an expert, someone that's a specialist, and give advice on these things without testing them. So I went into a number of them. I got called out online because of it, but I went out there and I shared, this is why I was a part of them. This is what I found out. This is why I'm not in them anymore. But fair play to the people that actually get results from them. We didn't. Like, this is the stuff. You need to go into the detail of what it is that you do and think about what is it that's going to get people talking? What is it that's going to get people commenting? And the biggest thing that you could do, if you don't know the answers to these questions, is find someone who can help you figure it out. Because when you do, the growth is ridiculous. Eric Partaker is one of the fastest growing accounts on LinkedIn right now. He was a client of ours around about 2 and a bit years ago, and he came to us with this problem. We had to figure out how Eric can stand out. Eric had such an incredible corporate experience background. He'd been a part of companies like Skype and the way that they grew. And with it, there was a massive gap for him to be able to take over that leadership space, personal development space. But he had to create content that other people hadn't seen. And so when he did, boom, his account grew. And he's again become one of the fastest growing accounts. And this is actually going to demonstrate to you how you also don't need a huge LinkedIn account to be able to get the attention you're after. So this is my girlfriend, Zoe. You can see she's got, I think, around 900 followers. Again, the image is quite small for a lot of you that are out there. But with an account that's only got 900 followers, this was a piece of content that she did. She was active on LinkedIn at the time. She was using it. She was posting. She was commenting. She was engaging, doing all of the habits I'm sure you are already right now. And she managed to reach 133,000 people off one piece of content. Her profile was optimized in the right way. She had a video on it that actually showcased what it was that she did and also what it was that she was looking for. Because of the attention that one post got her, people started to view her profile. And again, with it, she sent that message in and said that she'd had 2 messages asking about investment opportunities and a few asking about how the charity can help their child. Lots of new connections and just so many messages of support. So with it, again, it's about understanding what to post to be able to get the right level of attention. This was the sort of message that she was getting. I just watched a short video and I'm intrigued to know more. I have considerable experience with dogs and considering investment opportunities. You start to see, give me a yes in the chat if you can start to see the power when you start to get this right. The right content, the right profile, the right conversion piece of content that sits there with that video that sits on the profile. Boom. Just so you know, you don't need to run live webinars in this way, right? This is a 60-minute live presentation. You can run a 3-minute conversion video in the same way that Zoe. A webinar isn't just this generic 1-hour-long presentation. It can be done in lots of different formats. In reality, it's just a conversion-based video introducing your offer. These are just some of the messages that I get from my content. This was just in the last few days. Hey, Chris, it's been a while. You got me with your content. We'll love a meeting. When you get this right and start driving people down a process that you've got built, that's where this starts to happen. And you're going to have to forgive me with the cliche here, but how you say anything online is how you say everything. One word truly can make the difference. And if you want to start seeing consistent conversions, You need to speak the right language. You need to feed the content with what your audience want. That says platform there. It actually needs to be audience, because the platform will show your audience what they're interested in. And so if you're like Matt Fletcher on the right-hand side here, you've got an audience that's full of engineers. When Matt posts about engineering-based content, it gets a lot of engagement. If Matt posts about him, I don't know, going to a football match, it's probably not going to get the same level of it, because not every engineer is interested in football. Probably a wrong, bad example, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? You need to focus on what these people are missing and what they're doing that's a waste of time. Think about your target market, think about your audience, and then speak about the impact that you have. Go and have a look at Matt's account. You'll see how he does it as well with his content. He is demonstrating what he does every single day. Every single day. And they're the results that he got. He sent that email to Sam, I think that was over a year ago now. But with it, 129,000 views, 18 new customers this month, all through LinkedIn. And so when it comes to positioning, the biggest thing is taking that time to do the research and find your gap. And if you can't do it yourself, find someone that will help you. And that's part 2. As we move into part 3, we may slightly run over that 1 o'clock number. But when it comes to profits, there's 3 parts: your offer, the delivery, and the journey. Again, when we look at just the last year, the way that people position what it is that they sell is quite weak. And I don't mean to sound harsh, it just is what it is. Like, it's either confusing, and I don't mean to call any of you out on here, because I know you probably didn't just want to type in all the detail. But when I ask you what it is that you do, what is it that you sell, when you just put consulting on what? Right? And this is just to back up just a little bit of something. Let's say you send the message in the chat box to everyone, and you put some form of, like, maybe it is Instagram consulting. There may be someone in that chat box that's looking for an Instagram consultant, sees your name, come and finds you on LinkedIn and sends you a message. If you hadn't put Instagram consulting and just put consulting, you missed that opportunity, because they don't know what type of consulting you do. It's just such simple things, right? That's why one word can make a difference. And I'm not doing that to be a dick, right? That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to highlight to you the importance of all the finer details, and having someone that's going to help you figure out what those details are. Because with a webinar, your job throughout this is to demonstrate how you make an impact, right? When you get to certain points, you then introduce how the service works. You may have already heard me talk about our social selling. Have I mentioned the word social selling suite on this webinar yet? Let me know. If I haven't, I have now. Just say yes or no if I've said it previously. I've said about social selling suite. I think I've spoken about the academy. One person wasn't listening, Dan. I definitely have said it. I'm sure I have. However, with it, it's about knowing and seeding what it is that you do. Generating curiosity, generating interest. No worries, Dan, you're all good. And so this needs to be done solely with your customer in mind. Take a moment, put yourself in your customer's shoes and identify, think about, speak to them to find out what they need to hear to truly understand the value that you give. It's what we did with Ashley, right? Ashley on the right-hand side, we got his webinar out there, half an hour one, I think it was. With it, 21 members, upsold his 6K package to a 35 grand deal. He did really, really well. He just didn't have a webinar. He just needed something to convert. It was all he needed. Everything else he was already doing. The biggest, again, I think this is the second biggest thing, is the concept of this isn't just about ticking boxes. It's about understanding what makes people buy into you. So unlike what most people think, these presentations aren't about shoving them and filling them with huge amounts of value. You need to structure them to help people realize that they need to work with you. It starts with understanding where your audience is and what they're currently doing. What are they moaning about? What is it they're wanting? What is it they're needing? What are they missing? What is it that's ineffective? And when you do, again, like, the results come because you start speaking the right language. But if you want to take the notes down or take a screenshot, what is it your clients are moaning about right now? What is it that they're really wanting? What is it that they need to hear that you've not currently told them yet? What I need to emphasize is that when you start putting this together, and I'm focusing in on webinars at this current point, right? It's not just about your webinars. It's also about how you deliver everything, how you show up online, how you show up offline. Like, if I turn up to these sorts of presentations or a video that I create online and not showing any enthusiasm. I'm speaking slowly, sending you to sleep. You'll disappear. You'll run away. You'll never come back. But if I show up as the most passionate version of me, the most enthusiastic version of me, to showcase how much I really care about this stuff, how much I highlight like what it is that I do and how it's so important, that's where I get the buy-in. That's where people then want to have a conversation. That's where potential opportunity comes from. This goes with everything. Offline work, online work, webinars, content, it goes through it all. People, and this is a fact, right? They want to work with people that they believe in. But if you're working on speaking to a stranger, to get them to do that, you've got to believe in yourself as well with all of this. And you've got to put in the effort to get better. You've got to put in the hours, just like I do with all of the customers that we work with. We spend hours reviewing people's work. And the devil is in the detail, and we never stop looking to improve. Angie is a prime example of this. She is absolutely plowing and smashing it through at the moment. But again, with it, she ran a webinar. We gave her feedback. This was the sort of feedback that we gave, and it's very, very detailed. She then goes and runs her webinar. It does her webinar, and she generated 17 calls, more than what I did on my last one. We then gave her more feedback, and she went again every month running one. She then got more results, 3 signups, 14 more scheduled calls to complete. The devil is in the process, because when you then join it all together, you create the journey that generates customers consistently. The structure of the workshop, if you want it, highlight the importance of the subject you're talking about, right? First things first, you've got to tell people why it's important, why it's urgent, why they need to do something about it. You then need to highlight the problem that they're facing and what's holding them back. You then highlight what's missing and what they're doing that's ineffective. And then you focus on and present your solution that solves the problems that they're currently experiencing. When you get that right, just like the gentleman on the right-hand side there, a couple of clients from one webinar again, few calls coming in, right? That's where the difference is made. And again, with it, you don't stop. This was feedback that we gave, I think, just on Friday. This is about improving, getting better, making it better, pushing forward. And again, this example here, this is just our process in full flow for you. We send a message, it got ignored. We send a follow-up introduction message, it gets ignored. But with our content, with our invitations, with the way that we market, we get a message then 33 days later. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Social Selling Academy that you run? Of course I can. Not a problem. A few hours later, I send it back. We jump on a call. I then send her a webinar replay. Hi, Chris, love the webinar, signed up. The process, when you get just one webinar working, you can utilize the replay and send it out. You only need to run it really once. If it converts at 20 to 25%, you rinse and repeat. And so some big pieces of advice is really that big bottom one there for you. Don't pack it full of value-based information. This is about creating a mindset shift. And when I speak with people, I think some of you have already booked your calls in. I'm not too sure how many of you already have, but for those of you that have booked your calls in, like what we will do is we will talk about your services, how they work, and I will then showcase and demonstrate to you how you can sell them differently. It's to be a conversation with me, just like I did with James on screen there. James, I don't know if you're here today. I did see you register. I'm not too sure if you're here, but we also need another call if you are here, because we've not spoken in a little while. But when it comes to this, to start generating that consistent flow of leads, you don't need to be posting 100 pieces of content like some people will tell you. You don't need to remain consistent if you're doing things badly. You just need the right plan in place. That will give you the new traffic that you're after. Good to see you, James. Social selling, right, is the terminology that we use, right? Marketing and sales together is not easy. It does take effort. It does take graft and lots of testing to get it right. And what I want to introduce you to do is how you can work with us to be able to do it. Take me 5 minutes to run through it for you. The social selling suite is a solution that includes the 4 things that most people are missing. Step-by-step training, right? So that again is that is how we start to generate the sales within the 30 days that we look to work through. And it's everything that I've spoken about today. We then have deadlines that are set for each stage of that roadmap. So we drive you through that process, making sure that you're doing what's required to start making those sales. We then have the mentoring. So there's 2 live weekly sessions that are online. And this is where we review, we provide feedback and some training on all the different elements of the process. And then in January, we also launched a set of tools that are going to help you with your marketing and sales efforts. So email marketing, content planning, analysis, we're phasing the release of all of these different tools for you as we work through. But the biggest thing is that we're going to build out your version of this process. So it's going to take you through product, offer, audience, and message, teach you on how the platforms work, how to build your audiences, then how to build your email list, then how to build your webinar, and then how to run your sales calls. I'm going to teach you all of it step by step, and it all gets done within a 6-week period. And then what we then do is rinse and repeat that 10 to 12 times throughout the year. We have a training video for pretty much everything that you need to understand how to build your audience, how to nurture it, how to convert it. The accountability comes from a platform called Slack. So some of you may have used Slack before, some of you may have not. But at each step along the way, we will give you feedback. Okay, so you send lead magnet through, we'll give you feedback. Your website will give you feedback. Your content, every time that you post, will give you feedback. Your webinar, we will watch it, give you feedback. You just submit your work and we will review it for you. And so with it, you're just following the process that I run today, right? So I've promoted, we got people here, we present the solution. Some people are interested, some people aren't. The devil comes from the detail of this, and that's where the mentoring helps. So every Monday at 12 p.m. UK time, Thursday at 2 p.m. UK time, you will also have check-in calls with either me or one of the team as you work through. We will challenge you. We're going to push you outside your comfort zone, and we are going to push you at levels that you're going to need to work at to see success. You will notice we are relentless with our process. And so if you immerse yourself into it, you'll see the results just like everyone else has that I've demonstrated on this today. If you're ever struggling, you just message us, right? So you can see here a message that I got. This was just on WhatsApp, right, that I received. But with it, like just from one call, we got a 45K deal over the line, right? Just giving her a little push just when she needed it. The technology, you'll see it there. You can see the tracking system that's there. And again, we will demonstrate more and more about that in the future as well. But it is all about simplifying marketing for you all. Today's offer is 12 months experience of the social selling suite. So with it, you get everything that's on screen there. So you get all of the templates as well. So you get presentation template. We've tried to just make this as easy as possible for you. And so with it, there's a few bonuses that I'm going to give. There's no secret like price drop or anything like that. The price is the price. And we've tried to make this literally as accessible for everyone as possible. You get your one-to-one calls and accountability check-ins included. So again, typically we speak to people once a week, once every couple of weeks. It's again one-to-one, whether it's with me, Nick, Sam, or the team. And with that, it's £250 per month. The bonuses that we're giving is also access to our mastermind and training day. So this is run by either me, Nick, or Sam, and also our team are there. We have access to 20 to 25 people to come to these. This is the last time we are including this for free for the £250 a month membership. So this is the last time that will be offered, but we're doing it one last time because we felt it was unfair to not do so. But we all get into a room, right? It's all included as part of it. And with it, this one's in Birmingham, and Nick's running it all around how he built his business up. Nick, I'm sure you can share in the chat to everyone, just kind of what you're going to be running in that day. But we also go for food and drinks afterwards. It's a real good, nice community event, and it's mastermind type format as well. So you get that included. You also get a strategy session with me. So this is one-to-one with me and you. And with that, you will go through the initial stages of clarity together. It's 30 minutes. It sometimes goes longer. And we will do that towards either over the next few days, next week or the week after. You'll see my diary. You'll see kind of the availability that's there. We'll work through it together as a team as we work through. The biggest thing with this, as I bring everything up on screen for you there, is this isn't a you do it yourself program. It also isn't we do it all for you. This is a program where we do it together. And so if you need help, you ask for it. If we need you to do something, we will ask you for it. It's a partnership. And so if you're looking for someone just to do all the work for you, this is not for you. But if you're looking to work with a team that are going to look to push you forward, almost become your marketing partners, then it is. And so with that being said, I know I've run over by 5 minutes there. So thank you to everyone that showed up or had to leave already. The QR code is there for you to be able to book your calls in. This offer specifically expires on Friday because we need to begin onboarding. So we're already almost halfway through the year. Like, I can't believe how quickly this year is going. And I want to really make sure that the people that are starting of this have the best end to the year, second half to the year as possible. And so I need to get you onboarded quickly. The QR code is there to be able to book your call. I will be going through a Q&A now for you. But again, if you have any questions, pop it in there. For those of you that are disappearing, thank you very, very much for showing up. I'm glad it was helpful. I'm going to be sharing a post online later on this afternoon about today's session. If you could come and comment your thoughts on it, I would be very, very, very grateful. Thank you very, very much. And I'm just going to go to the Q&A quickly whilst we have got 4 questions here. Sally Ann, I have 3 projects, 2 running under one company, the 3rd running from a separate company. I'm interested to know how people market multiple projects. I have a history of streamlining processes, looking at how others manage multiple identities clearly. So I have a couple of different ventures that I'm a part of. And it's very, very important to get your profile talking about them all. That's very, very important. I'm also not afraid to talk about them all. Most people say you have to speak about one thing. I don't. Like for me, I focus in on talking about them all. I have a plan that I follow. And I also have the conversion pieces of content in place that allow me to proactively market. So my social media content doesn't change. I speak about everything that I do. But then how I then move people to the different email lists and to the different promotional plans is the thing that's different. That is solely based on the conversion piece of content. Steve, from there, Steve Howarth, to answer your question, it's typically between 4 to 6 weeks. So as long as you're following it at an average pace, 4 to 6 weeks, you will have ran your first webinar and you would have seen your low-hanging fruit results from there. Sonia, your meta ad cost per result are high for a free event. We should talk. Definitely should talk. 100% happy to do that, Sonia. Andrew, what's your view on using BombBomb for video messaging? I've not heard of it, Andrew, so I couldn't comment. But bearing in mind you work with us, I will have a look at it for you and give you thoughts in Slack. Stephen, what's the best way of going about identifying my sub-niche or even micro-niching? So the best way is to test it with your target market. So we talk a lot about niching. I don't like niching for niching's sake. Some people put themselves into different demographics and they pigeonhole themselves. I actually let my audience define the target market almost themselves from the content that I put out there. It's something that I will be talking to people on those calls about, by the way, in terms of your demographic and how you identify channels. So if you've not got a call booked in, Stephen, book one in if there's any available, purely because it's different for everyone and you may not need to niche. So people that are telling you, like, you may not need to, right? It's just about identifying that. Leonardo, where do people subscribe to your newsletter? So best place, Leonardo, is on my LinkedIn account. Come and follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, and we go from there. Rob, we are starting to use Go High Level. Can this be integrated into that CRM or we need another CRM? So Go High Level, you can utilize as a CRM. So I'm not a massive Go High Level user. I know how it works. I've helped people with it before, but you can utilize their own CRM on there as well. And might be just be an upgraded package. But again, in terms of integration, and using Zapier, you can pretty much integrate anything. But with it, I would probably stick to Go High Level if you're already utilizing it and got loads of stuff built on it for now, and then just utilize and building your process as we go through. Can a LinkedIn webinar be watched later after live is aired? So yeah, with this webinar as an example, I've ran it on Zoom. So I would download it and I upload it to YouTube. And so then I generate the YouTube traffic and the search-based results from there as well. So that's what I do with the replays of this and what everyone else should do as well, in my opinion. So I'm going to stop sharing there. I hope that was valuable for everyone. I've answered all the questions that have come through. If anyone has any questions at all, please drop me a message on LinkedIn. I do answer my messages as they come through. For those of you that have booked your calls in, I look forward to speaking to you. Like, I'm really looking forward to having those conversations. I'll help you as much as I can. For those of you that the times weren't quite right, drop me a message and I'm sure we can try and coordinate something if I can fit you into a gap somewhere. Thank you so much for attending today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Have an amazing day, evening, whenever you're watching this, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.